Alright, now I got the audio working. What is up, everybody? And we're back. In this episode, there actually is an agenda this time. Oh, wait, I forgot one thing. Spent money on this, but I never went and got it. One moment here. There we go. I'm back. Okay. So, somebody had left a comment, and I apologize, I don't remember the exact name, and I don't want to pronounce it wrong, that should add ambient music, or contextual ambient music. I assume that's what it was meaning. So, actually, that's a great idea, and that's actually what we're going to do in this this session. However, Dwarf Fortress itself just kind of has the same song playing over and over, and there really aren't any sound effects necessarily. However, that's probably one of its less features that one of the features I don't really enjoy about it quite as much. So I say we just add it to this. Why not? The music I'm going to be using is completely free. We'll point you to the website. I'll leave it in the description for YouTube, and I can paste this into the chat here. Let me do that quick. And you just go to sonita.itch.io, scroll down, and there's this 22-track RPG soundtrack. I always thought this was a really good asset pack. It's free, so if you can send them a donation, that'd be great too. I'm sure they'd appreciate it. But we will use the music for this in here. I already have mine downloaded, and these will be in .ogg files. And that's gonna, if you're not using the pipeline, Monogame requires it, or I had to dig through the source code to find out why I couldn't just load an MP3 directly. So go ahead and download the files for this, and we're going to use two of them here initially. So in the code, we'll go to, let's see, we already have kind of a resources. Let's use resources here. Oh, the glasses are fogging up. Okay, so let's go ahead and add it there. I'm going to pull mine up here. There's two songs. I think they sound really, really good. This one I think is probably my favorite. And we're just going to use the loop version. We're not going to add in the initial and then add looping and that kind of stuff. But here, I'll just give it a listen here real quick. Coasting. I can't even hear it myself here, but... Oh, yeah, I suppose maybe I should kill the music in the background, huh? There we go. Seems like this would go really well if we can just kind of imagine it here. No need to imagine it, just run it. This seems like pretty acceptable music to have for an overworld. And then what I was thinking is to keep it nice and simple. I will add it so you press a button, and then that puts you into combat mode. And once you're in combat mode, that plays one of the boss songs that I used on here. Let me pull that up. I believe it's this one. So you can imagine it, you're in combat mode, walking around. Oh, these are your enemies, attack, you're dead, stuff like that, right? And then once you take yourself out of the combat mode, you just go right back to the happy overworld music. And that'll be enough to get a proof of concept, and eventually we can bring in almost all of these. Almost all of these have some sort of use case to them. So let's do that. So yeah, I could think of it as like, maybe when you're in a town, like an area that's been designated as a town, it'll play one of these town songs like this. And I hope the audio is loud enough for you to hear that. Otherwise, just go ahead and download them. They're great. So let's bring these in. I'm going to close this out. Let's get the music in the background going again. I'm just going to have to remember to turn that off when we're testing. So let's go ahead and grab not town loop, coasting loop, and boss loop. Copy those, bring them in. See, can I just paste directly from here, or do I need to open it in File Explorer? Probably. I don't know what I just did there. I want it to stop though. Oh, it's open it in PowerShell. Alright. Yeah, let's just drop them in here. I'm gonna rename them for now. Let's rename this to Combat. And we'll name this one to just Overworld, I think is fine. want to go in here, go on it. You can hold down Alt, right click and go to properties, but otherwise you can just click it. Sometimes it's open automatically, or you just hit Alt and hit enter. That'll open up this property window. And we want to set the copy to output directory to always. And we will do the same thing for combat. Copy always. Hit save all. Just that way it saves the CS proj to know that it needs to copy these files to the output directory every single time. And then let's update the asset manager to include the music here. So we did make an asset manager, I believe. Yeah, it's in managers, asset manager, perfect. So let's carry a list of songs. So Mono Game out of the box just has a song object, so we'll make use of that, and we can just reference them by name. So we'll just make it private static dictionary string and song. Oh, probably missing a namespace here. There we go. And we'll call this songs. Just new it up because we're guaranteed we're going to put something in it. And I think, yeah, in the init method, we'll just load up all the songs into memory. There's no reason not to. So what we'll do is, let's create a separate method just for loading a song into memory. Static song load. Actually, it doesn't need to be static. This is a drawing blank. This is a singleton. So we'll make it song. Load song. And the song name is going to be a little bit differently because we have to pass it in the full path of it because we're just going to do it as a song.load from UR. Load from URI is the method we're going to do. So let's go ahead and create a variable here for getting the location of the file. And we should be able to get to this by simply make it a new URI. I think we need to nest this. We'll use string interpolation here. It's environment dot current directory. That's right. So we have our current directory. Then we need to go into resources, and then we want the song name .ogg. And then we can just simply return, so we'll do return song from URI, and we'll pass in the song name, because that's just the name of it, and then the location that this file is stored in. Okay. So within here, we'll just load up the songs right away. Let's just add them here. So add. Let's see, we named this one Combat Overworld, and then load song Overworld. We just do. Do the same thing for combat. Yeah. This way we're not repeating ourselves too much. And we'll do the same for combat. Alright, so this should all work now. One thing that would be nice to check. That's fine. So now in order to use this, we need to call it to actually play the song. So I'm looking over at one of my old projects here. I want to make sure that I'm not just fumbling through this. So Yeah, so we want to be able to get a reference or an instance to the song. So we'll just go back to our asset manager. We'll create a method here to a public one to public song, and then we'll just do the get song. So we'll just be passing in the name. So I think that maybe we need to make this in the global namespace now that I think about it, which is no issue. But let's just do string song name. And then we're going to be optimistic, so we're not doing a try get value every time we call this, because we're going to just assume that we know what we're doing, which we do. And we're just going to blindly assume that it exists in here. So song name. Okay. So now, when we actually want to call it, we can do... We should have a play audio method. Except we're going to add an audio manager now. That would be a good idea. Oops. We'll want the ability to mute everything. No, this doesn't need that. This doesn't need to be a full prop. And we'll make, because it'll have to be a specific song playing right at that point in time. So we're going to make whatever the current song is. So song, current song. Set get, and then we need a public manager instance, and then within here we'll do get. Oh boy. Now we want to be able to play a song, and we're going to have it reference the asset manager to load that song up. Well, we're technically going to load everything up into memory, so it is using up memory, you know, and you could argue that maybe you only want to load a certain amount of songs, like especially if we were making some kind of, you know, like really intense, heavy, it used basically it uses graphics, or wow, we're loading a bunch of assets into memory. And in that instance, we would probably want to only load certain things. But this is one texture, at most 22 songs, and that probably seems unlikely. So we're just going to keep it really simple for now.
You know that Big Bargain detergent drug is 85% water, right? 85% water? I thought I was getting a better deal because it's so big. If you want a better claim, Tide Pods are only 12% water. The rest is
we'll go on to our check. If we're muted,
pass me the intercom thing.
We'll just return. So this way we're able to just kind of isolate this out. So the only thing that should be able to play a song is if it calls right here, and it will reference whether it's mute or not. So one thing we might want to do is provide a default. No, we're not going to provide a default. We're going to immediately just say in the main program file, not program file, but the main game class, that's just going to be, because it applies to everything. It's not specific to just a screen or something like that. Okay, so we'll set the current song. Multimedia. It's multimedia player? What is it? Just media player? Yeah, there we go. Dot play and then song. Okay. And then we'll probably do the same thing for sound effects when we get there. Those will come. Those will be done a little bit differently than songs, because you know a song is something. I think by default it will loop, but sound effects work just slightly different, and those we might have to compile through the monogame pipeline. I'm not 100% sure, but One thing that we should be able to do is be able to set the volume. I believe that's a float. Yeah, so now I should be able to just say media player dot volume. Yeah, equals volume. Yeah, a little isolated out a little better. So let's see if the basics of this work, or proof of concept. So in our overworld screen, let's do something like, well, first we need to load all the assets, or set whether it's going to be mute or not. I just want to do that right away. So in here we would do something initialized. So in here we would want to do audio manager.instance.mute equals false. Yep, we want to set this to false when we actually want it to play. So maybe that's fine. That's fine. I don't want to get hung up on that. One thing that we do also want to do is we need the ability to stop the current song. I just thought about that. So within our audio manager, what we want to do is void stop. Stop. Just stop works, yeah. And whatever the current song is, so our current song, what we established up here, actually, no, we don't need a reference to it. It's just media player dot stop. And you know, by all means, we could just call some of this directly in here, but I figured this is the best way to apply global, you know, configurations involved. Right now, mute's the only thing, but maybe we might want something where we're set the initial volume. I think whatever we have for the default should be fine. So now, let's see, how would we use this? Okay, yep, so we're loading this, load the song. Let's make sure all of this works. Okay, let's make sure the song's here. And it does not appear they're null, so that should be good. All right, so now, within our overworld screen, we're gonna want to do something in maybe in load content. Yeah. So asset manager.instance.play. No. Audio manager.instance.play song. And then this is where we want to extract some of this out into the globals, which I should have done earlier, but that's fine. Not audio manager, asset manager. Make it public instead. Yep. And I'm going to remove it from here so we know where it's broken. Overworld song name. Combat song. Okay. So now when we're in the overworld screen, we should be able to reference it as globals dot overworld song name. Play song. Oh, yeah. So this would be instead get song, and then this would be where we want to pass this in. No, I think what we should be able to do is maybe have an overload here so we can just pass in the song, or maybe we just update it so we can pass in the name of the song, and then it will go out and load it in that instance from the asset manager. That might be cleaner. Let's do that. a mute check. Instead of just setting song, it will become asset manager.instance.get song name, and we'll just play current song. Alright, so let's try that from the overworld screen here, and we'll just, instead of loading it into a separate variable, I mean, we could, in theory, still do something like this, right? This is fine, but I don't know, it's just doesn't seem as intuitive to me. It makes sense to me, because obviously I wrote it, but if somebody else was in there, it's like, I can see how that'd be a little confusing. If you're just, I think it's weird to load certain variables up blindly into the parameters of a function, because there are, in this I'm not doing near as many null checks. For something like work, you gotta do null checks, right? So there's not really an easy way that you can do that. So you could have something where you're maybe doing like that. If it's null, then call like globals.overworld song. Does this actually work? No, that didn't work. Okay, never mind. I'm not gonna get hung up on that. But basically, I just think it's weird to have something like this. It's perfectly valid C#. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just preference. So we're going to just have this be our only parameter. So now, oh, this is on unload content. I don't want that. So we're telling it to play the song. Let me kill the audio here for Spotify. And let's see what happens. I don't know if it's actually going to play or not. Oh, there we go. Let me turn up my volume here. I'll turn the volume up on OBS here too, so you can hear. So now we need to make sure our muting works. So let's go into the main game here and let's set it to be mute. And right now, no audio should play. Did not work. Okay, mute, true. Oh, I know why. Hang tight here. No. Okay, I don't know why. If mute, return. Yeah, because we're not calling mediaplayer.play here. Okay, so we have song name, overworld, if mute. Didn't I just set that here though? Instance audio manager.instance.mute equals true. Because it is static. I mean, the class itself is not static, so this is a member level variable, but it should have a member level. Okay, maybe it's because I need to call instance first. Okay, so we have instance null. It's going to create new audio manager. And maybe it's because this one by default. So now that it's called mute, but so mute is set to trying to set it to true. It still plays. You know, it's not so bad because this music is kind of nice. So it's actually kind of nice when it fails because it is so good. Okay, so we're setting mute. If mute, return. Okay, so that would mean that there's only, if I'm making this property itself static, the music should only ever be one bool tied to any audio manager in existence. So I shouldn't have to specify it like that. I'm gonna try just making it static. I think this will work. Touch mute instance dot audio manager dot mute. Okay, so far that seems to be working. Now let's set this to false. This might be just breaking. Yeah, that was it. So I'm probably breaking all the rules. There's probably a better way to do this for singletons, but we're just gonna call it good. This is such a small feature that it just doesn't matter. So then if we want to call stop, maybe we have a stop in mute. Nah, we'll leave it alone for now. Alright, so now it's gonna play that song, and now we need a way to switch the mode for the player. Like, first we'll need to have some kind of input action. So inside of our input manager, let's add a new input action of, what do I want to call this? Combat. So it'll swap from combat to idle. So in our update, what should we make our combat? Well, I'm going to copy this down quick. Key down. Let's do the tilde. Tilde. OEM tilde. Yeah, sure. And then we'll set it to combat. Alright, so that will get our input action. We're going to have the player class determine what's going to happen. This is all this, the only job of this input manager is just to say what happened. What the hell happened? It's on the consumer to know what to do with it. So let's make sure that part is working. We'll go into input manager. Right, does this set it back to idle though? No, that does not matter. This is just for triggering it. Okay, so inside of our player class, our update actions. So yeah, if input manager dot instance dot is input action combat. And let's add a flag here to indicate private bool in combat mode. We'll set this to false, and we'll probably introduce some form of like a state machine logic here to manage the state of a player and all that. I personally want to just do that a little bit on the side ahead of time because I have some experience with it, but I feel like a broken record, but it's been a while, and I want to make sure that you're not just watching me fumble here and you can actually code along and not have to just undo all of my mistakes. So will just be equal to whether they're in combat mode or isn't equal to combat mode. So this should just flip the bool, or is it just this? Yeah, okay, because combat mode just equals whatever this isn't, so this should toggle it. So let's go into the overworld map, overworld screen, and the overworld screen is going to be kind of in charge here. Yeah, so we only want to call this update once. It's possible maybe we can subscribe to an event. Yeah, because I don't want to give the player code where audio is being managed. I do want the audio to be managed from the overworld screen. So maybe we do that. So it's in combat mode equals not in combat mode. Well, for now, let's make sure this is updating correctly. Just temporarily make this public. Actually, that's all we have to do. We don't need to do an if. That was stupid. So this should just tell us, spam it in the console, using combat mode, pressing it, nothing's happening. Well, let's see what happens in here. And maybe I have the tilde key thing incorrect. Yeah, I do, because it's not firing. It's not picking up that combat mode. Oh. I get it. Equals combat. If the action is that, and the input action is also combat. Yeah, this is the weirdness we had to do. And then we set it back to idle every time. So this way we're changing it and then, you know, flipping it back to just idle, because that means the keyboard's not being pressed at all. So that means that it's the input action is idle. So when you think idle, you might be thinking, oh, like a player is standing still and be idle. This is not the case. This is what is the keyboard action currently. Because once you're done pressing a button, you're back to idle. No keys are being pressed currently. Okay, so now, if that is there, it should flip the bool. If I did this correctly anyway. So it's false, true. False, true, false, true, false, true. Cool. So now when that happens, we'll want the overworld screen to just only fire something once. And that should be... Yeah, I think we're going to have to make this be a public variable here. I think this is always the most challenging part, is trying to, you know, strike a balance between, you know, not being too much overly into the object-oriented mind frame, because that's not as efficient for game development, but also making something that's still separates responsibility, right? You know, it's like if you're writing in C++ or something, or if I was in C++, I wouldn't go through all the work of just having all these classes and everything. I mean, I might do a little bit, but for some reason I just feel like I'm allowed to be dirty when I'm writing C++ because it just assumes I know what I'm doing. But when I'm in C#, I try to respect it a little bit. And I respect both languages, right? That's not what I'm saying. Anyway, so then when this happens, we want to be able to change the song. So what's the best way to do this? Yeah, I really don't want to have this in here, but I don't like this. We might have to just do it, make it dirty, and just find a way to do it. No, we want Whoa. We want, fudge, what am I thinking of? Yeah, audio manager. Instance dot play song, and then in here, in combat mode, globals dot combat song else globals overworld screen. Now obviously what happens when we add a third and a fourth and a fifth and a sixth, right? This is just to get the proof of concept in place, and then we're gonna have to do a little bit of cleanup obviously. But now this only fires once, and we're setting the combat mode properly and telling it to play a song. So I don't know if this is going to try to play multiple here. Okay, so it's the right song, now let's switch. Alright, so now let's go back to column happy music. There we go. Yep, obviously not the final implementation, but at least we have the audio manager. We have some way to load audio into memory. Well, in the next one, I haven't decided, but I think we'll add some kind of ability, because obviously this right here, this is not going to work. It is not going to stay this way. I'm just trying to keep these somewhat short too, so they're in a little bit more bite-sized chunks. So we will end up going back and changing how this works. But in any event, let me know if you have any suggestions of what you want to see next. Again, thank you. I have to look this up. Give me one moment, because I'm feeling bad. Read it before I had any caffeine. Yes, nil object. Thank you very much for the suggestion. If you have any other suggestions, please drop them in there. Always looking for an agenda. Thanks for watching. If you're on YouTube, please hit like and subscribe. Thank you. Bye.